Why the modern world makes us feel empty inside. There's something unsettling about the way we live today, but most of us can't quite put our finger on it. We wake up, scroll through endless feeds, consume entertainment designed to keep us hooked, work jobs that feel increasingly disconnected from real meaning, and then repeat the cycle. And yet, despite living in an era of unprecedented comfort, connectivity, and convenience, many of us feel a deep, nagging emptiness inside. Why? What has changed? And more importantly, is there a way out? The modern world, for all its technological marvels, has subtly reshaped what it means to be human. In the past, our ancestors lived in tight-knit communities where survival depended on cooperation, meaning was derived from shared struggles, and identities were formed through deep, personal connections. But today we exist in a world of abundance, but that abundance has come at an invisible cost. We no longer have to fight for our survival, but in losing that struggle, we've also lost something fundamental, an intrinsic sense of purpose. Think about it. If everything is easily accessible, if all our needs are met with minimal effort, where do we derive meaning from? Many of us turn to work, hoping it will fill the void. We chase careers, promotions, and financial success, believing that achievement will bring fulfillment. But work in the modern world is often impersonal and detached from any deeper purpose. The vast majority of jobs today involve pushing information, optimizing processes, or selling products, activities that, while necessary, rarely satisfy the soul. In the past, a craftsman could see the direct impact of his labor, a farmer could take pride in feeding his community, and a philosopher could engage in meaningful dialogue. But today, most of us sit at a desk, staring at screens, sending emails, attending meetings, and wondering why it all feels so hollow.
Click subscribe to this channel to get more profound insights.
And then there's the illusion of connection. Social media has made it possible to communicate with anyone, anywhere, at any time. But in theory, we should feel more connected than ever. But in practice, it's the opposite. Our interactions have become shallow, reduced to likes, comments, and fleeting messages. We mistake digital engagement for real relationships, but deep down, we know the difference. The warmth of a real conversation, the depth of true companionship, the irreplaceable presence of another human being, none of these can be replicated through a screen. And so we scroll endlessly, searching for something that can't be found in pixels, wondering why we feel lonelier despite always being connected. Even our leisure time has changed. Entertainment is no longer something we experience, it's something we consume. We binge watch, we scroll, we click from one video to the next, always seeking the next dopamine hit. But what does this constant stimulation do to us? It numbs us. It conditions us to expect instant gratification, to avoid discomfort, to escape rather than engage. And slowly, without realizing it, we lose our ability to sit with our thoughts, to reflect, to be present. The modern world gives us endless distractions, but in doing so, it takes away something far more valuable, the ability to find meaning in stillness. But perhaps the most profound shift has happened in how we understand ourselves. In the past, identity was something forged through experience, shaped by struggle, and rooted in community. Today, identity is curated. We present versions of ourselves online, carefully crafted to fit a narrative, to gain approval. And in doing so, we become strangers to ourselves. Who are we when every aspect of our being is filtered through the lens of social validation? When our worth is measured in numbers, followers, likes, engagement, do we still exist beyond the metrics? So we have to ask, is this just the way things are now? Or is there something deeper at play? Could it be that the modern world is structured in a way that actively disconnects us from the things that make life meaningful? And if that's true, is there a way to reclaim what we've lost? The illusion of happiness in a world of endless choices. The modern world promises us happiness. Everywhere we look, we are told that fulfillment is just one more purchase, one more achievement, one more experience away. We are bombarded with advertisements selling lifestyles, influencers showcasing curated perfection, and endless choices designed to make us feel empowered. And yet, despite all this, we are more anxious, more restless, and more dissatisfied than ever before. How did we get here? Why does having more leave us feeling less? Choice is supposed to be a good thing. The ability to shape our lives, to have control over what we do, where we go, and who we become, this should be liberating. But in reality, the sheer number of choices we face every day has become paralyzing. We stand in front of infinite possibilities, yet instead of feeling free, we feel overwhelmed. Every decision feels like a test. Every path not taken lingers in our minds as a what if. We no longer commit fully to anything because there's always the thought that something better might be just around the corner. Relationships, careers, even our sense of identity, all of it feels fragile in a world where everything is temporary, replaceable, and subject to constant comparison. And comparison is the silent poison that seeps into every aspect of modern life. Before, we lived in small communities where our sense of self was shaped by real, tangible experiences. Now we are constantly exposed to the carefully curated lives of millions. We see the best moments of others' vacations, achievements, perfect relationships without context, without struggle, without the mundane reality that exists behind the scenes. And so we compare. We measure our ordinary lives against the highlights of others and wonder why we fall short. We chase an ideal that isn't real, but in doing so, we ensure that we will always feel like we are lacking. Even happiness itself has become a product, something to be optimized, measured, and pursued relentlessly. We are told to be happy, as if happiness is a constant state we should achieve and maintain at all times. But this is an impossible standard. Real happiness is not something that can be bought, nor is it something that can be pursued directly. It is a byproduct of meaning, of engagement, of deep connection to life itself. The more we chase happiness as an end goal, the more it eludes us. Like a mirage, it always seems just out of reach. If only we had more money, if only we looked better, if only we had the perfect relationship, then we would finally be happy. But happiness doesn't work that way. The endless pursuit of it only deepens the very emptiness we are trying to escape. Technology, which was meant to enhance our lives, has instead become a double-edged sword. We have access to more information than ever before, yet we struggle to find wisdom. We can communicate instantly, yet real conversations feel rarer. We can entertain ourselves endlessly, yet we have never been more bored. This is the paradox of modernity: abundance without fulfillment, stimulation without satisfaction. In a world where everything is available at the touch of a button, nothing feels truly valuable. When we can watch any movie, listen to any song, or order any meal at any time, the specialness of these experiences fades. And so we consume more, hoping that quantity will make up for the loss of quality. But it never does. Even our understanding of success has been reshaped by this culture of endless choice and comparison. We are conditioned to believe that success is external money, status, recognition. But these things, while desirable, do not fill the void. How many stories have we heard of wealthy, famous individuals who seem to have everything, yet struggle with deep unhappiness? The reason is simple. External success does not guarantee internal fulfillment. But no amount of achievement can replace the need for meaning, for purpose, for a life that feels deeply lived rather than simply performed. So, what does this all mean for us? If happiness as we know it is an illusion, if choice and comparison are making us more miserable, if technology and abundance are stripping life of its depth, then what is the way forward? Do we simply accept this as the nature of the modern world? Or is there a way to break free from the cycle? Perhaps the answer lies not in seeking more, but in seeking less, in simplifying rather than complicating, in focusing not on what we lack, but on what we already have. Maybe the path to fulfillment is not about maximizing pleasure or optimizing every aspect of life, but about finding depth in the ordinary. But maybe it's about reclaiming our ability to be present, to engage fully with what is in front of us, rather than always looking for the next thing. But if that's true, then we have to ask ourselves, are we willing to let go of the illusions we've been sold? Are we willing to step away from the endless chase, the constant comparison, the belief that happiness is something to be acquired rather than something to be lived? And if we are, what would life look like if we did? The crisis of meaning in an age of disconnection. We live in an age where everything is connected, yet nothing feels real. Information flows instantly, conversations happen across continents in seconds, and we can summon entertainment, food, or validation with a few taps on a screen. But beneath this web of connectivity lies a deeper problem, one that gnaws at us in moments of silence, one that lingers in the background of our daily lives like an unshakable weight. It is the quiet, unspoken crisis of our time, the loss of meaning. Meaning has always been the foundation of human existence. In the past, it was woven into the fabric of our communities, our traditions, our struggles. It was found in the things that required effort, in the bonds that were built over years, in the stories that were passed down through generations. But the modern world has stripped these things away. We have replaced depth with efficiency, purpose with productivity, and belonging with digital proximity. And in doing so, we have left ourselves untethered, floating through life without a clear sense of why we are here or what truly matters. Think about how we spend our days. We wake up, check our phones, scroll through updates from people we barely know, consume content designed to keep us distracted, go to work that often feels meaningless, and then repeat the cycle. Most of our interactions are fleeting, most of our tasks feel like they exist in isolation, and most of our experiences are mediated through screens rather than lived directly. This is not how humans were meant to exist. We are creatures of depth, of connection, of purpose. And yet, everything around us pushes us toward the shallow, the quick dopamine hit, the instant gratification, the surface-level engagement that masquerades as real life. Even the things that once gave life meaning have been diluted. Work, which used to be a source of pride and craftsmanship, has been reduced to a means to an end, something we endure to pay for things we don't truly need. Relationships, which once required patience, commitment, and effort, are now swiped through like options on a menu, discarded at the first sign of inconvenience. Spirituality and philosophy, which once provided a framework for understanding existence, This have been pushed aside in favor of endless distractions that keep us from asking the deeper questions. And when we do have a moment of quiet, when the noise fades and we are left with nothing but ourselves, we feel the weight of it, the absence of something fundamental. What makes this crisis even more insidious is that it is not obvious. It does not announce itself loudly. Instead, it creeps into our lives subtly. It manifests as a vague restlessness, a sense that something is missing but we can't quite define what. It appears in the form of burnout, not just from work, but from life itself. It shows up in our constant need for stimulation, in the way we avoid silence, in the way we are always searching for the next thing to distract us from the emptiness we feel inside. And yet, when we look around, everyone seems to be playing along. We post curated moments on social media, pretending that everything is fine. We chase success, hoping that achievement will fill the void. We consume entertainment, hoping that it will numb the discomfort. But deep down, we know the truth. None of it is enough. None of it touches the part of us that is starving for something more. So, what is the way out? If meaning has been stripped from our lives, how do we reclaim it? The answer is not in adding more, but in reconnecting with what has been lost. It is in slowing down, in stepping away from the distractions, in engaging with life fully rather than watching it from a distance. It is in building relationships that are real, that require effort, that are not based on convenience but on true connection. It is in finding work that resonates with something deeper than just a paycheck. It is in embracing discomfort, in seeking out challenges that force us to grow, in allowing ourselves to wrestle with the big questions rather than avoiding them. But perhaps most importantly, meaning is found in presence, in learning to be where we are, fully, without always looking for the next thing, in paying attention to the small moments, the quiet conversations, the beauty of an ordinary day, the simple act of being alive. Because meaning is not something that can be purchased, optimized, or downloaded. It is something that must be lived, something that must be cultivated through intention and effort. The modern world is built to keep us disconnected from this truth. It thrives on our distraction, on our dissatisfaction, on our constant search for something external to fill an internal void. But we do not have to play along. We can choose to step back, to question, to seek something deeper. And perhaps, in doing so, we can rediscover what it truly means to be human. But that leaves us with one final, haunting question. If meaning is something we must create for ourselves, then what happens to those who never even realize it's missing? Breaking free, how to reclaim a life of depth and purpose if the modern world is designed to keep us distracted, disconnected, and searching for meaning in all the wrong places, then breaking free is not just an act of personal transformation, it is an act of defiance. But to live with depth in a shallow world, to seek purpose in a time of emptiness, to reclaim control over our attention, our time, and our sense of self, this is the real challenge. And yet, it is the only path forward. Because the alternative is to remain trapped in the cycle, endlessly chasing what will never satisfy, growing older but never wiser, consuming but never truly living. The first step to reclaiming depth is awareness. Most people go through life without ever questioning the forces shaping their thoughts, their desires, and their behaviors. But once you see it, once you recognize how technology, consumerism, and endless distraction are pulling you away from what really matters, you can no longer unsee it. You begin to notice how often you reach for your phone to escape a moment of boredom, how much your self-worth has been tied to external validation, how rarely you allow yourself to simply sit in silence and think. This awareness is uncomfortable at first, because it forces you to confront the ways in which you have been complicit in your own disconnection. But discomfort is necessary for growth. And from this discomfort comes the opportunity to change. Reclaiming purpose requires a radical shift in how we approach life. Instead of chasing happiness as a fleeting emotion, we must shift our focus to meaning, a deeper, more lasting foundation for fulfillment. Meaning is not found in passive consumption, it is found in creation, in contribution, in engagement with the world. It is found in work that challenges us, in relationships that require effort, in experiences that push us beyond our comfort zones. It is not about doing what is easy, but about doing what is worthwhile. And often the most meaningful things in life are the ones that require struggle, patience, and sacrifice. Connection, too, must be reclaimed. The modern world gives us the illusion of connection, but true connection is something else entirely. It is built through presence, through deep conversations, through shared experiences that cannot be replicated through a screen. It requires vulnerability, the willingness to be seen as we truly are, without filters or performance. It requires time, something we are too quick to trade away for distractions that leave us feeling emptier than before. To reclaim connection, we must be willing to prioritize it, to step away from the digital noise and engage fully with the people around us. Because in the end, the deepest meaning in life is often found in the relationships we build, in the love we give, in the moments of real human connection that remind us we are not alone. None of this is easy. It is far easier to remain distracted, to follow the path laid out for us, to avoid the difficult questions. But easy is not the same as fulfilling. The truth is, the modern world will not hand you a meaningful life. It will not encourage you to slow down, to reflect, to seek something deeper. That is something you must choose for yourself. It requires effort, discipline, and the courage to reject the shallow in favor of the profound. And so, the question is not whether the modern world makes us feel empty. It does. The question is, what will you do about it? Will you continue down the path of least resistance, numbing yourself with distractions, chasing illusions of fulfillment that never last? Or will you choose something different? Will you choose to live fully, to engage deeply, to seek meaning in a world that has forgotten what it means to truly be alive? The choice has always been yours. But now you see it clearly. What will you do with that knowledge?